Hello and welcome to the Dairy webinar. Suruchi Consultants, in association with Benison Media and Jordbrukare India, is jointly organizing the Dairy webinar series during this unprecedented times of COVID-19. The objective of these webinars is to gain insights from industry experts on opportunities lying ahead for Indian dairy sector in the post-lockdown period. My name is Prachi Arora. I represent Dairy Industry Expo, which is an annual exhibition and conference for the dairy industry in India, organized by Benison Media. So as you all are aware, the theme of the webinar is COVID-19, technology is changing the Indian dairy landscape. So let me just go through the flow of the session. Firstly, it would be the introduction of expert panelists, opening remarks, viewpoints of expert panelists, then question and answer session, and the closing remarks. And before proceeding ahead, I would like to mention to the audience that you may please use the Q&A panel to ask your questions, and our experts may answer those questions in the same section. We would be picking some of the questions as well. So let me introduce my expert panelists now. My first panelist for the day is Mr. Ranjit Mukundan. He is the CEO, Managing Director and Co-founder for Stellips Technology. Ranjit has over 24 years of experience for software industry and was earlier the global head of Wipro's telecom value-added services practice, having delivered solutions for global clientele across USA and Europe. His last 9 years as the CEO of Stellips has been focused on innovating and deploying IoT solutions and frameworks for digitizing the dairy industry. His vision is to unlock the unprecedented value across dairy supply chain via end-to-end digitization of the largest crop on the planet. My next panelist is Mr. Ajay Singh. He is the founder of Courtyard Farms, which is an artisanal dairy company based out of Delhi, NCR. Since the inception, Courtyard Farms decided to take the digital route to manage its operation, marketing and distribution, which helped them to create a unique space for themselves in the market. The next panelist is Ibrahim Akbari. He is an established serial entrepreneur and investor. He handles Indian investments for London-based VC firm Allsfield Capital. He also founded Doodhwala.com, the foremost subscription-based e-grocer in India. He scaled the organization to 1,200 people and 2 million transactions per month, thereby shifting the paradigm on fresh grocery consumption. Coming from a family of entrepreneurs, prior to Doodhwala, he successfully ran an industrial supply enterprise in the Middle East. And the last panelist is Mr. Rakesh Sharma. He is the founding director for Tech Experts Software Private Limited. He's closely working with dairy industries in Pan-India for their specially developed integrated ERP system covering milk procurement, processing and production, sales and distribution, with accounts and finance and payroll. Now let me introduce the moderator for the session, Mr. Kuldeep Sharma. He's a dairy technologist from NDRI Karnal and an MBA. He is the founder of Suruchi Consultants, which is a research-based dairy advisory firm since 1990. He is also the director of Safe Labs, an NABL accredited testing laboratory for milk and milk products. He's a national resource person for dairy with FSSAI India, and amongst the farmers, he is popularly known as Dairy Guru. And lastly, it is my colleague Prashant Tripathi, who is a dairy enthusiast and a seasoned executive, collaborating with the leading dairy-related business and the stakeholders to realize and meet the potential synergies between the organizations. In his decades experience in the dairy industry, he has gained expertise in different verticals of dairy value chain, including industry, consulting, and academia. Presently, he is the partner in Jordbrukare India. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Prachi. So first of all, a warm welcome to everyone, all the audiences, my expert panelists, Prachi, Prashant, for organizing it and supporting it so well. So we have been talking about opportunities post-COVID, which are likely to be there, because what's happening probably in this webinar, I would like to say one thing, that a disclaimer comes right in the beginning. Reason being that on daily basis, we are getting updated about the way things are happening. And in that particular case, till now, what we have understood, that dairy is more or less has become a supply chain, and at the consumer end, there has been a lot much of development which have taken place in the last 2-3 months, I would rather say. And that has happened not only at private sector dairies or multinational, but all the cooperative sectors also have started to make use of the kind of supply chain, delivery, apps, e-commerce to a large extent. And direct to home kind of delivery, which was a kind of dream maybe few months back, now it's a reality and it's being used at a large scale. Now, who is looking at presentation? Prashant? Can I have the next slide, please? Yeah, thank you. So, what's the role of technology? Why we are doing it? So first, let us understand, what kind of dairy ecosystem we are referring to. So if you look at India, then India is a country with around 30 crore animals, that is cows. Out of that, around maybe 10 to 12 crores are in milk. We have got around 7.5 crore dairy farmers. We are producing close to 50 crore liters of milk per day. Out of that, around 25 crore liters of milk is coming to the market by both organized and unorganized sector. We have close to 4 lakh collection points in around 3.5 lakh villages, covering close to 430 districts. We have around 20,000 plus chilling center in DMC, around 1,500 plus plants, dairy plants, I'm talking the registered plants. We have close to 19 crore households which are purchasing milk both at rural and urban level. Close to 12 million retail shops in unorganized sector, 1 million organized retail shops, and we have got a pool of 138 crores of consumers, to whom we have to serve. Now you can look at the complexity. Can we handle this whole ecosystem of dairy without technology? So here I would like to quote Mr. Jeff Immelt, because my understanding of technology started from the statement which he made somewhere in 2000 when he became the CEO of GE after Jack Welch. So a technology is of no use if it cannot provide cost-effective solution to the masses. So when we are talking of technology, or when we are talking of, because we'll be focusing more on the informational technology or digitization for that matter, our expert panelists are in a better position to discuss about that. But at the back of the mind, we have to keep that the technology which we are mentioning, that has to be cost effective and has to provide its solution at mass level. The second quote which I would like to use over here is, in 2003 or 4, that was the time when probably I attended one of the seminar in which Mr. K.V. Kamath, who was heading ICICI Bank at that time. So he was being asked a question that, sir, what business you are in? That was the time when net banking, ATM, all those kind of things were coming up. So he made a statement, and it took some time for me to imbibe that. But today I can truly say that that is a statement which really could be used as a DNA for any kind of technology infusion in any business, because the definition is so simple. He mentioned, we are an IT company managing financial transactions. So in that particular case, when I relate it to dairy sector, I can say that the dairy will have to become an IT company dealing with the milk transaction. So if we look at the dairy value chain, so I have given you the numbers, so I need not to repeat that, but you can very well understand that as we look at the inputs, which is a pre-farm kind of area where, such a heterogeneous, group of inputs are there being fed to the cow, and then we a homogeneous product that is milk, also dairy as a single raw material industry. It is collected from the farmers, chilled, taken to the factory where the operations are taken care of, and then it goes to the market. So it's really complex. It involves a large number of stakeholders, and monitoring is a challenge if we include technology somewhere in between. So the platform has to change. Let's look at the Amul story. So, Amul handles close to 2.5 crore liters of milk per day from 36 lakh farmers from 18,500 villages of Gujarat alone. I'm not talking about their procurement outside Gujarat, with 5,000 tankers, 80 plus dairy plants, and I think in totality they have got close to 250 installations, including the chilling centers and BMCs. They offer 750 SKUs to the consumers. They distribute it through 68 branch offices, 250 warehouses, 10,000 distributors. They cater to million plus outlets out of 30 million outlets which I mentioned about. So they are using for those outlets their Locate Amul app. They also have 8,000 carts and parlors, and again they have a Amul cart app for that. So that is the industry leader right now, the kind of technology which they are using. So now what is the challenge with the implementation of technology? So what I feel that instead of looking at the operations or the machines, the better way of looking at is that it is all dealing with some kind of life, some form of life here or there, be it cow or be it consumer. So when we are dealing with cows and humans, actually we are dealing with habits, because what we are, what we repeatedly do. So in that context, I would like to say that the first challenge is to understand their habits. So it's not that you have a technology, you put it up, you implement it. No, until unless you are aligned with those habits, until unless you have set up an algorithm, it is very difficult, to use any kind of technology in this space. Then the second major challenge which lies ahead is, I'm again showing you the same dairy value chain from pre-farm to chilling to distribution to processing and again to market. In that we can see that the first portion where we have got the pre-farm activity, the farmer having feed and fodder and growing those kind of things, keeping cows, and then taking it to the collection center. So one ecosystem is that, and another one is after the plant when it is being taken to the consumer. So there are so many varied needs in this area that there are multitude of stakeholders which are active in this area. And then once you have implemented the technology, then the biggest challenge comes in integrating with the back end as well as with the front end. So at the end, I would like to say that everyone is talking about cow to consumer, and this is a dream. So I think this is going to be a new mantra, and it is only technology which can make it happen. So as my colleague Prachi has already told you, so you have a question and answer tool. You can run through it, you listen to the panelists, and whenever you have a question, you can write it over there. May I request Prashant now to please come over and look at the question answer and ask the panelist, whosoever is supposed to be answering the question, please. Prashant.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Kulichar. We have already received a lot of questions through the question and answer portals. I would recommend our attendees to please share their questions not on the chat but on the question and answer section of the portal that they have received. Now, one of the questions that we have received in the as of now is from Ponu Subramanian, and Ibrahim, I would come to you on this. And Ponu is asking, like, how important is yield per cow, especially when there is a lots of negative discussion on Holstein Friesian / Jerseys type of cows. Ibrahim, you're muted.
Yes. Am I audible now?
Yes, sure.
Yes. I would leave the discussion about yield per cow to someone who would be better educated on that, perhaps Ranjit or someone who's more involved in the production side. But what I would like to comment upon is the negative flag that that Ponu mentioned regarding Jersey cows. I do feel that from a demand perspective, we have been right at the helm of things when we have seen this negative aspect towards Jersey cow come about with the rise of A2 versus A1 and a lot of questions about it. And our take on that has been simple. This is a demand problem. Demand keeps changing, and consumers understand certain things, don't understand certain things. They may be right, they may be wrong. When it comes to, say, goat milk and what today Ajay is doing, yes, there is a lot of research to back it up. When it comes to whether A1 milk or Jersey milk from Jersey HF cows is good or bad for you, we do not have any conclusive research on that. These are very small studies. So I would just say that largely nobody should take this prima facie. As and when we are able to have established research on this, that's when it becomes understandable as from a broad level.
Thanks a lot, Ibrahim. I have another question from Pononu, and I would like to point it out to Mr. Mukundan, and it's about the traceability from customer point of view. How have you implemented, or how are you supporting the traceability from the customer's point of view?
Yeah, there are two parts to it. One is traceability from the farm to the plant, right? And there is another one, from the plant to the consumer. From the plant to the consumer, we haven't implemented anything per se because our focus has been on the procurement side. But our focus is going forward in conjunction with, let's say, the tech components of what someone like Ibrahim will do on the Dudhwala side. Can we provide a QR code on the pack when upon scanning of which you can actually say, look, this milk from this pack actually came from this district, this village, and these kind of cows. And by looking at the cow's image, you can actually figure out if it's a Desi cow or an HF cow kind of stuff. But that's something that we'd like to implement going forward. So there is greater confidence in the customers. But from consumer-facing traceability, I know that there are people focusing on test-based approaches. There are people like Country Delight who provide test kits to consumers who can test for the various ingredients, but it doesn't come into the realm of traceability. But that's something that we'd like to implement going forward in conjunction with the distribution tech stack that someone like an Dudhwala will have.
Thank you, Mr. Mukundan. We have one question from Mohammed Abdul Kalam Azad, and he's from Milk Vita, Bangladesh. And he's asking, how can they implement an Amul-like system of providing raw milk pricing from different areas? So I would come to you, Mr. Mukundan, on this, and Mr. Rakesh Sharma. How can you assist Mr. Mohammed Abdul Kalam Azad in setting up a system?
Yeah, so we work with a lot of greenfield dairies. People want to set up a dairy starting from farm development, procurement, the complete digitization. Because when you're starting things up new, it's relatively easier. You don't have the baggage of having done things in a particular way. You're sort of ramping up upfront. But even with existing dairies who want to expand into newer territories, for example, if there are people already working in Karnataka and want to do, Maharashtra, they sort of, start Maharashtra on a new keel. So the idea is we can help in such greenfield projects, either for an incumbent who wants to start a new area or someone who's entering the dairy for the first time, assuming that it fits into our economics of how we go about doing these things end to end.
Sure. Thanks a lot. Now we have one question coming from Suruchi Kulkarni, and he's asking how is the industry ensuring that the people or the delivery persons are not affected by coronavirus? Ibrahim, I think I would point this question to you and also to Mr. Singh, Ajay Singh. So Ibrahim, you can go first. You're muted.
Sorry. Yes. The entire last mile industry, I think, is taking a lot of precautions, and especially essential services as a whole is making sure they have the right sanitization times, as in sanitization at each handover of a customer, pocket sanitizers that each delivery boy is being able to carry, sterilizing before dispatch at the plant. So there are various aspects that these companies are taking in place. But again, we are in an unexpected time, and Corona's the way it is passed on is something that we cannot say much at this times of COVID, whether we are well protected or not. Prince Charles ko nahi choda. So, I mean, it's somewhere that one way or the other it can get to us. But especially with the consumption of milk, I would say, as all groceries are coming from a consumer perspective, as all groceries are coming in, as you're sterilizing it, it's got to be the same for your milk packet, just a basic sterilization from outside. And as we are anyway heating the product, as we do. So from milk, I would say the safety measure, just because of the nature of how we treat it, is largely already there. But, and I'd like to, I mean, Ajay can also come in and say what his firm uses. But from what I understand, the market is doing, everybody is being using good sterilization techniques, the essential services at least.
Sure. Ajay, what is your point of view?
Okay, from the last point contact and while delivering it to the customers, what industry-wise people are doing is that they are providing all the possible equipments to the delivery boys, with respect to vans, bags, sanitization, everything possible people are doing from that perspective. On the other hand, in India, it is a practice, whatever milk comes to someone's house, the first thing what they do is to boil it. They do not, means nobody, even in normal times, the boiling happens as the first thing. So, and it is not getting, till now, WHO has, I don't think WHO has said that it is getting spread through food. So I think we are safely doing it. The only thing is that if a milkman goes, if it is happening through milkman or delivery boy, then those sanitary or those basic WHO recommended practices can help the industry.
Thanks a lot, Mr. Singh. Mr. Mukundan, I have a question for you. Because we have already captured the downstream now, just talking about the upstream, what kind of actions have been taken by the industry to ensure hygienic milk production as of now in the current times? Would you be able to comment on that?
Yeah, so specific to COVID, on the milk procurement side, there's not been any specific changes implemented, because the only thing that I can think of is when farmers actually come to pour milk, they followed social distancing and the milk is collected. But the milk per se, if you're asking, are there any specific tests, are there any specific kind of approaches that are being followed on the procurement side to ensure that milk itself undergoes a different test? I don't think anything of that has been followed, and I don't think it's sort of necessary, because we know based on the current properties that on a given surface, for a given temperature, for how long it would stay alive, and eventually it undergoes processing, at the plant. And the milk that we get, today is so high in bacterial protein, so high in so many other adulterants and contaminants. I think we have much more basic, problems to resolve, which has much more stronger impact on the human health. I don't think, SARS-CoV-2 specific steps are being taken, at least on the procurement side. But on the delivery side, I see where it kicks in. How do you sanitize the packs before you deliver? How do you do untouched milk delivery? I mean, those things kick in. But on the milk procurement side, I think we have one-on-one problems to resolve before we actually think through what additional steps we can take.
Okay, now we have another question from Mr. Kavanpreet Singh, and he's asking, how's technology integration across different states and regions in India? An example of areas where local agent nexus for procurement is so strong that they are very averse of adopting technology. And I think, Mr. Mukundan, I would put this question to you and Mr. Rakesh Sharma.
Yeah, so in an agent-driven system, there's always a pushback for rolling out digital systems, which gives more transparency. There are people who want to do local dealing. There are people who do local money lending. They don't want to know how much of milk was connected, what was the rate, and because they would sort of see this as intruding into their other economic benefits. But what we have seen is once these agents see the long-term benefits of the fact that it only helps them do things better at a larger scale, then they start getting onboarded. For example, in a lot of our mechanisms, we actually onboard the agents as a business correspondent for financial packages and insurance products, right? So they know that there's no point in hiding information because they can't ramp up their other incentives at scale. If they want to ramp up their commission from lending, if they want to ramp up their commission from insurance, being a local agent who hides information can only help you scale that much. But if you actually become a professional business correspondent of a bank or an insurance company that our tech platform enables, you start getting a consistent stream of income, and then over time it becomes they sort of become more in favor of transparency than actually against it. So in initial days, yes, there will be pushbacks, but I think if you can incentivize them and make them part of the entire system and show that how their income levels can go up as a result of the digitization, then I think it becomes easy. But I think it has challenges when you get started. We just need to figure out how to surmount the challenges by educating them, by handholding them, and by showing how some of the first movers are actually reaping the benefits and so on and so forth.
Sure. Thanks, sir. Mr. Sharma, how have you actually, let's talk about the example of Uttar Pradesh. Like, how have you managed to get or break this nexus, or how have you been able to push your technology into the market?
Yeah, we are trying to push this technology, and at the organization level, when they decide that they have to do digitization of a dairy, there are challenges there are hesitations in the staff who have to be worked upon on these new technologies, and we have to work with them closely, convince them with the benefits of the technology, what it can be done to the end consumer, starting from the farmer to the middle agents. We have to counsel them about the benefits of the integrated system, how they can take the benefits. They will get the all reported parameters on the messages also. They don't need to have to follow the dairy for the payments, for their other parameters. So it all has to be given on their phones also. So this is what we are trying to counsel them to make a part of the system, because unless until they are not a part of the system, we cannot do the implementation at that grassroots level.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Mr. Sharma. One more question is coming from the upstream. It's like, what value are we adding for the farmers with the help of technology? Mr. Mukundan, I think this question is on you.
Yeah, so I think this is a basic question. So we obviously improve the productivity at a farm level, which helps improve the farmer income, right? We help him produce better quality of milk and ensure that the quality is sustained throughout the chain, so that we can enable premium market linkages. From the demand side, we know that there is increasing focus on premium milk, increasing focus on differentiated milk, and if a consumer is willing to pay more for those different, it need not just be an A2 milk, or need not just be an organic milk. It could be an antibiotic-free milk. It could be a milk that is free from alpha-toxin. It could be milk that is rich in omega-3 fatty acid because the cows were given grass-fed nutrition. So because of all this, there are growing demand for premium milk, differentiated milk, which consumers are willing to pay more. And when they pay more for high quality milk, these automatically percolate down into benefits for the farmer. You can actually give him better rates than just giving him rates for commodity milk. And our focus has always been on how to shift from a commodity milk to a premium differentiated milk, and at the same time improve the production at the farm level. So as a combination of both of these, I think the farmers tend to benefit in a big way, and that's sort of at the heart of what we're trying to do.
Thanks a lot. As we are already moving towards the end of the webinar, we are already very close to it's 10 here in Germany. I have last question that I would like to put to Ibrahim. And Ibrahim, I would like to ask you how you guys are ensuring, because we have already talked about the middleman and other places, how you guys in the last leg or the last mile of this dairy value chain, how are you ensuring the inclusion of all the doodhwalas, like how we do not miss anyone and someone should not see and technology or the app as a threat to their livelihood?
So I would say, depending on the model, it yes could be a threat to the livelihood of a specific last mile distributor. every time there is a new technology and a new way of doing things that comes about, a sort of paradigm shift, it does displace few industries, it does displace few businesses. Some businesses are able to be on top of it and keep up. Now, for instance, about 30% of our workforce used to be existing milkmen in itself, who have been doing this for the past 15, 20 years, because we were encompassing of them. We were able to take them to work with us, and largely from a very vision perspective, our vision was to finally empower the same milkmen that do exist. But there also are existing models in the market, without getting too detailed or taking names, which do not believe or work with these existing milkmen. So yes, they do end up displacing them. But the good part is, like all businesses and all technology businesses, there are various models that arise. And this is given, there is an inventory-led model which is in place. There is a marketplace model which is in place. Inventory-led is where any of these companies are managing their own inventory and cutting out the layer of middlemen, or not using the layer of milkmen that exists today. But the marketplace model, like us or Daily Ninja, actually aggregates these particular milkmen. So yes, it is a time for them, for the last mile milkmen, to keep up and to make sure that they're able to keep in line with this technology and not displace their business.
Yeah, thanks, Ibrahim. I think like we have already reached on the last mile of our webinar, and now I would like to pass on to Kuldeep sir, and I would like to kindly ask him to share the last closing remarks. Over to you, sir.
Yeah, Prashant, it was a very nice session, and particularly in the question and answer session, there were quite very good pointed questions. Now, I won't be taking much of time. I'll be taking the first context which was being shared by someone related to post office. So let us say the kind of scenario which we are envisioning. So when we talk of post office, I think in rural India, we have got close to 1.5 lakh post office, which are covering to, most part of the rural India. Now that post office, today's post office is slightly different, and people are doing some kind of experimentation to take it further. For example, it is there as a bank, it is there as an insurance agency, it could be used for some kind of modern retail, it is a courier cargo, it can have a community service center, you can have mutual fund investment kind of things happening over there. The same thing I am looking at our 400,000 village level centers. To what extent by the use of technology we can make use of these particular points through reverse logistics and all that, on which people have already started to do work. And in this COVID time, I have also seen that companies are paying back to the farmer in the form of milk powder and ghee. And in that particular case, even at those centers, even farmers can look up at some sales and marketing opportunity. But this COVID, what it is bringing to us, it is bringing two things in front of us. So there is a traction in consumption, as well as there is a traction in consumerism. Both the things are happening simultaneously. Now, what the technology is doing in terms of consumption, so consumption has two dimensions. One is the scale. So in that particular case, more the demand for the organized product, packed product. So in that particular case, the technology, as Ranjit and my other friends are mentioning, improving upon productivity, or let's say going for better farm structure with more animals, so that this scale could be built up. The second thing that the role technology has to play is the level of fragmentation which is there in production. So in that particular case, technology will be taking care of the complete collection network. In terms of consumerism, which is on the consumer nose is right, in that particular case, we have got three dimensions. The first one is safety. And in safety, traceability plays an important role, where technology is actually doing some wonderful things. Testing is the second thing. When I talk of safety, in that particular case, we should have the latest technology to test it fast, quickly, and for practically everything, not only adulterants, but contaminants, heavy metals, everything. The second area of convenience, as Ajay ji has taken care of, particularly through CRM and through data analytics. You will have to understand your consumer better. So in that particular case, IT has to play a role. People like Ibrahim have to support the industry. And for the last mile delivery, how it has to occur. Last but not the least, when we talk of quality across the value chain, then only one thing comes to my mind, that we have to have quality, and the best way to have quality is by human proofing the system. So can we really human proof the whole system by bringing in technology, by bringing in automation? That is going to be the way forward. Thank you very much, Prashant. Are you on mute, Prashant?
Yes, sorry. With this, we would like to close the webinar. I would like to also take the opportunity to thank all our panelists, Mr. Sharma, Ibrahim, Mr. Mukundan, Mr. Singh, Prachi, our admin support, Ashwini ji, thanks to you, sir. And we would also like to ensure to all our participants that, or if they think that their question has not been answered, please feel free to drop us an email. And we would come back to you with a excellent summary that will be prepared by Suruchi Consultants and Mr. Sharma. Okay, thanks a lot, guys. And I would like to say a goodbye. Bye-bye. Keep safe. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Prashant, and thank you all. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.